financially, and we had to have an auction of the livestock and equipment. And but my dad had enough equity in the farm that he could hang on to the building site and the quarter where we were by taking work in town. And some of you know my parents were deaf. They were born deaf, so finding a job when you can't hear or speak is a little tougher. But Dad got a job as a janitor and commuted to Sioux Falls, which is about a 50-mile round trip every day. And after a couple years, my mom joined him there as a janitor, and they were both janitors the rest of their working years. That happened about the time I was graduating from college, so I was sort of on my own. When I went to USD, I washed dishes for my meals at a sorority house and later a fraternity house. I'd show up for lunch, and after lunch was served, and I'd go in the kitchen and eat with the cook. And after everyone was done eating, I'd go collect the plates and wash the dishes, and that was the deal. I also had labor jobs in my working years through school. I ran errands for the government department, and I was a welder on the Lode King assembly line in Elk Point, and I welded and painted water towers up for McGuire Iron out of T. I painted the water tower in Mobridge. I painted the water tower in Gayville. Anyway, graduated in 1975 and had a political science degree and thought, gosh, what am I going to do with this? Hard to get a job with a political science degree. So I applied for and was admitted to Northwestern Law School in Chicago. And I didn't have a car, but I wanted to look at the school, and my friend Dave, his parents owned Waldbaum's Egg Company in Nebraska. He gave me a ride down to Nebraska, and I literally rode a semi-load of eggs to Chicago, made my way to the school, talked to the financial aid people, and figured out I could make it work. And I worked my way through law school from 75 to 78, running errands for a law firm. I was a security guard at a downtown office building, and then I was a bus driver for the Chicago Transit Authority. I was sort of the Ralph Cramden of Chicago for a while. Graduated from law school in 1978 and came back to South Dakota. A couple years later, married Linda. We worked in Sioux Falls for a couple years, and then we had our daughter Laura, who's also here with us. And then we bought the building site from my parents. We bought the 7 acres back on the farm where I had grown up, and we moved in with my parents, and we built our own house. I was working at a bank then. I worked all day at the bank, came home, worked on the house, and it took about 10 months to build our own place. We moved across the yard. We had another daughter, and we had our son Chris, who's here with us. And the kids grew up with Grandma and Grandpa right across the farmyard. I worked for 10 years in banking, and then I began volunteering at Children's Home Society, and eventually quit my job at the bank and go to work for them. I worked for Children's Home for nearly 20 years. And then while I was there, I was recruited to run for the state legislature. I was elected in 1996 and served 6 years in the state senate, and that's where I met Mike Rounds. He was a state senator also, and when he won the nomination in 2002 to run for governor, he asked me to be his running mate. Of course, we won, and then were reelected in 2006, and it's just been a great opportunity to serve, and I've enjoyed public service very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve as your lieutenant governor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dugard, and now an opening statement from Mr. Heideprin. Thank you, Paul. I'd like to thank the Farmers Union and the State Fair and everybody who helped put this together. It's really great to be home. When you grow up in Miller, South Dakota, in the shadow of the South Dakota State Fair is home. And I just love coming here. Susie and I came here every year for the years we were able to live in Miller, and we come back as often as we can. Growing up in Miller means that you're connected to agriculture the entire time you are there. For me, that meant dehorning and castrating cattle. It meant painting fences. It meant picking rocks. It meant hauling bales. It meant everything. Later, when I had the chance to come back and practice law with my dad, I did farmers' tax returns. I did a ton of Schedule Fs. I probably did a bunch of Schedule Fs for people who are here today, either my dad or me. And we're really proud to do it. You know, there isn't any work for anybody in places like Miller if it wasn't for agriculture. And we also all understand that every 10 people who leave the farm take one Main Street business with them. Think of that. For every 10 farmers who leave the land, they take one Main Street business with them. That's how important agriculture